Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. Once again we're taking a look at the GPD WinMax. This time we're going to be disassembling the GPD WinMax only because GPD has sent me these new hinges that you can see right here. So these hinges, and I just want to make this very clear early on in this video, you will not have to replace the hinges. These hinges are what you should receive when you get the unit from IGG, just so you can kind of see very quickly that the hinges that are on this particular model are pretty loose. So if I kind of go at 145 degrees, if I just kind of flop it, eventually there's like this weak point where it'll just kind of give. So these hinges are supposed to be a bit stronger. Now there are a few things that we have to do here. Number one, you can kind of see, where would it be? Okay, so right here you can actually see it. Right in here, there's like a little indent. So in this particular, I only have two tools here. So I have a Phillips 00 screwdriver as well as a plastic spudger. I really do recommend plastic spudgers unless you have long fingernails, but I don't. So we're going to be using this. Right here is where you're going to want to kind of pick up to take a look at the hinge underneath. We don't want to scratch here. Kind of just want to like feather it through. There that goes. So this piece just has little plastic clips on it. See if we can. There you go. Come on, focus please. Thank you. So you can kind of see the plastic clips there, and that just kind of goes in. So here is the hinge mechanism. We can see the two hinges here, and this is what we have to replace. So this is going to go in there, and this one's going to go here. So to get to these, how am I going to have to do this? I am going to have to disassemble the entire thing, which at this point I might as well repaste my heatsink as well, so we'll get to that point as well. We can see the LCD cable going here. Alright, everything is pretty much understood. So I'm going to leave these screwed in for right now. We're just going to go and remove everything and then try to remove that case. Now, another thing worth noting is that my battery is glued to this part of my chassis. So it should not be like that for you guys when you get it. Also, when I unscrew things, I tend to like to do them in the order that they come out, so you can kind of make like a little grid. So i.e. if you were to put it here, this screw goes there, so I just plot them along. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward past this part because there's no real point to it, but you can see all these screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All of these screws are all you need to be able to open it up. So give me a sec while I do that. Alrighty, so now that I've unscrewed a lot of these, some of them still remain in the little barrel. I've not been able to even smack them out. So if you are in that situation, just go ahead and just make sure that you are in a gravity position where the screw is not going to fall out. Again, you're going to want to use this plastic spudger. Find a spot. You know what? Let me go ahead and take out this micro SD card right now. It'd be wise to do so. Generally speaking, I like to find a nice lip to begin to actually start. Right here I can see a little bit of a crevice, so I'll just kind of go in there and work my way through. Again, plastic spudger tools really do save the day here. Now in this instance, again, my battery is glued to this case, so the wire is pretty tight, and you should not anticipate your particular machine to be the same here. So go ahead and remove this. I have some of the screws that are in there. Let me just go ahead and find where I have that cable. So the cable is right over here. I go ahead and undo put right in there, and that looks like a good angle. Alright, so I've just disconnected that cable, and this part comes off. Now I do have a lot of screws in here. Let me move this out of the way because the screws are probably going to fall out. So very gently, let me bring it around town. Okay, and you can kind of see all the screws that I just didn't feel like taking out. There's there. I'll get them out later, but for right now I'm just going to leave them in because they're already kind of guided in. Here's the battery. We can take a closer look at that. And again, you should not, just so you can see the output, 11.4 volt, 57 watt hour, just to get some information. This particular battery, again, should actually be here for you guys. So taking off this piece should be much easier to kind of put on and off. Although, maybe not, because now thinking about it, if the battery is right here, getting this SSD in and out is actually going to be more troublesome. So maybe it is going to be like this. Curious. Okay, so I need to go ahead and fully disconnect this. So here are the hinges, and we can see them right here now that I've closed it. So I need to get further down. I need to get all the way over there. So I'm going to start removing a whole bunch of stuff. So let's start doing that. We're going to get also to the point where I have to repaste that, but that's going to be one of the last steps that we're going to do. So I am going to have to remove this ribbon cable and this one over here. Let's start taking off the fan shroud. See what's really necessary here, what can move. Okay, so it seems like only those two screws to take that out. How is this in? Just like that. Okay. Anything else holding this in? No, it's just the tape. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and just flip that all the way around. That's one of the screws that was holding that down. That was right over here. No problem. The adhesive for this is pretty good, and that was this screw. So if you're hearing screws fall out, it's just these two guys that came out. So this you can actually flip over all the way if you wanted to get to the SSD. This adhesive looks kind of pretty tough, so maybe I'll just leave it as such and I'll just take it all off as one big unit. So let me take off these screws as well. The fan cables themselves seem to flank this. What is this? Oh, this is the keyboard. This is where the keyboard goes into. So the fan ZIF connectors flank this keyboard slot, which I don't have to remove at this point. I shouldn't have to. I should only have to remove the base PCB to get to it. Okay, so there's that. Let me flop this over and we'll be able to get to the goodness underneath. So what do I have? I have one screw there, one screw here, one screw there. I have 4 screws holding this down, whatever this plate is, but we'll get to that in a moment. So it is wise to also have, which I don't have, because I am not wise, is to have, we're going to need to clean up the thermal paste under this. So I'll be able to get to that in a second. So I'll do that one. I don't want this screw to get lost. That's there. Alright. So I'm going to take off all 4 of these. And this should just lift off, and it does. And now we can see the Ice Lake chip there. Now one of the things that I want to do is I want to remove these screws. Usually there's like a little catch underneath, but And it does. Christmas. Okay, so that's the bottom right one. I just want to flip this back over because it has adhesive on it. Okay, that's an important screw. Don't lose these screws. Okay. Okay, that's top one. Oh, goodness. 1 second. Alrighty, so all 4 screws are there. They all seem to be the same size, which is great, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to place these down somewhere safe. And let's take a look at the business end of this heatsink now. So here's the heatsink, and I kind of just left the fan shroud that they have here, this tape that they use as a whole one unit. Without having to bother so much about it. I have the screws over there. I'm going to clean up this paste, and we'll reapply the paste way later and take a look at that. Here's the SSD. This is one way to replace the SSD so that it's nice and easy for you, but that's kind of super troublesome. If you looked at my how to replace the SSD video, that's most likely, not most likely, that is the preferred way about doing it. Go ahead and remove this SSD, and there's a little screw here that I will keep with the SSD. Alright, perfect. Alright, so let me go ahead. I'm going to get some alcohol to clean this up and clean up the heatsink, and we'll take a closer look at that. Give me just a moment. Alright, before I actually remove this, just one thing I wanted to make note of. While there is a good amount of paste that they've applied on both ends, this is actually less than the GPD Win 2 amount of paste that they've applied previously. So I am going to assume that the distance between the die and the heatsink is a lot less than it was on the Win 2. So I won't apply, I'll apply probably around the same amount of paste that they have on here. We'll see. We'll see how that's going to go. But I still have to go all the way down to the hinge anyway. And this device is light when it doesn't have a battery or anything. Anyway, let me go ahead and clean this up, and we'll take some better looks in a second. Alrighty, so I just did a first pass on this. We still have to clean it with alcohol. This is obviously not cleaned yet. It's just kind of taken off. We'll go ahead and fix that up. You can see that this is relative. There's some scratches on there, but yeah, there are some scratches that I could feel. Not really. No, I can't really feel any scratches. No, I can't. It's just, you can kind of see where my nail went along that area. It is pretty smooth, but also like how the Win 2 was, this is completely flat and doesn't have an indent like the Win 2 does. Here is Ice Lake itself. Whoa, that's a mirror finish. Hey, what's going on, guys? So there is Ice Lake. Alrighty. There's our RJ45, micro SD, USB-A, HDMI, Thunderbolt, and USB-C. Where's Thunderbolt? Thunderbolt's right there, and USB-C is right there. Kind of see if we can get a better look at some of these chips here. Right here is the display cable. That's the one that I gotta kind of keep tabs on. Let's see if we can see it over here. So here's the cable, the display cable itself, and it's coming out right here. So I got to make sure that this stays on because I have to get, man, I got to go down far. So the PCB has to come out. I need to get in here. Right over there, if you can see it, right down there. So let's start dismantling some more. Let's see how far we can go down. Alright, let me fast forward past this real quick. So I've just removed the Wi-Fi. You can see that the Wi-Fi kind of goes all the way down over here, and you can see it's actually soldered on. But it says max Wi-Fi and max Wi-Fi. So I wonder if this is an antenna of some sort. Like there's an antenna actually built into here, or if it's just the solder points like they usually are. But you can see it's going there. For the analog sticks, there is already this alcove that's built, that's dug out of the PCB itself. The PCB doesn't even extend over here it's just a hole here. So this part will come out, but this part just comes right out. So it's just these clips and zip connectors. Again, you're going to want to use a plastic spudger tool to get some of these up. So let's just take a look at how this is going to come up. This should come up. This I do have to remove. This should just pop up like that, and it does. That just pops up. This should pop up. Is there another mechanism holding this down? Is it just like, sometimes it's it's inserted. Let's see if I can pull it down. No. What about flipping up? No. Alright, I'll come back to that after I take a longer look at it. These flip up, which I'm going to need to. No, this is the same as the other. So it's just up. Yeah, no, it flips up. So that one just flipped up. Relatively certain that this one should flip up. Yep, and it does. So it just flips up. I had it right the first time. Okay, so getting that in is going to be a pain. Now how do these are the speakers. This one's right here. That speaker's right there. Do they just get... No, I don't think so. I think... Let's get underneath this. And this should... Make sure I got lighting on there so you guys can see. Yep, and it comes right out just like that. So those wires just come out of this. This is the keyboard connector. So that's just going to come... no, this one actually... No, it does. Sometimes keyboard connectors, there's like this little... It's like you rock it back and forth. It goes up and down as opposed to being flipped up. This one looks like it flips up though, and it does. And then this can come out. That's tucked in there real good. Jeez Louise. Out of there. There we go. That's out now. Man, what is this? Where is that going to? Is this for the mouse? Is this for the trackpad? This is probably for the trackpad. Let's remove that. Okay, pretty sure that's a trackpad, and that's removed now. Okay. Speaker, I will undo this one. Man, getting that back in is going to be a pain. Alright, I'll probably take that one out when we're closer. Now, what is this? What is this ribbon cable? Okay, this ribbon cable goes down here, which is the 3.5mm jack. So this is for the 3.5mm and the microphone. So microphone and 3.5mm is right there. Here's our Wi-Fi, obviously. And then here we have the connectors for the analog sticks themselves. And then this one, I have no idea how it's supposed to come out. This one, which is the most important one, I am not certain what I need to do to take that out at the moment. Hopefully it's just a thing that I can press down. I'm going to take a look at that in a moment. Let's go ahead and just take this one out. Okay, this is out. That I didn't pick up yet, so let's go ahead and get in there. So we want to pick this up like that. Okay, and take that out. Getting that back in is going to be a pain in the ass. Okay, so now how do I get... I think... Oh, I don't want to pull on these wires. Okay, so this is the most important one. Let's see if I fudge this up something terrible. So, can I just remove it? How does this come out? See if I can get under there. No. How does this come out? Alright, what other cables I need? I have a bunch of screws, and I can kind of take a look at this in a greater detail because I do have a bit of flex here. So let me undo all the screws here. What is this plate protecting? That's for the battery right there. That's the battery connector. Okay, let me start removing some stuff and I'll get a better look at it. Alrighty, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 screws holding these down. Where they're right here, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's one in here, 9, 10, and then 11. So that's all those. Now I have this, I kind of pulled this out a bit via the RJ45 port to pull out these cables over here. And now that I have that out, I have to get past the right analog stick first, which I will. So now that I'm past the, oh, there is that connector right there that I am not seeing. This one right here. Okay, let's go ahead and take that one out. Okay, that's out. Alrighty. Hopefully I didn't rip that, because that would suck really bad. Now comes the most difficult part here, which is this display cable. And how do I take it out? Alright, so what do we do here? I gotta be careful that I don't lose all my screws. Give me a second while I figure this out. Oh, I figured it out. So there's this little clip that was pressing it down, and this clip locked it in place. So lifting this up unlocked it, and then you can use the clip itself to pull out. Don't pull from these wires for the love of all. You can see how tiny and thin those suckers are. Scared the daylights out of me. Okay, so now that we have a better view of what's going on here, the touchpad is right here. Aha. So the touchpad was the connector near the left analog stick, which is interesting. Here we have the speaker wire that went underneath the PCB itself. Here is, oh, someone's coming to visit me. I don't actually know what this does. Does it even say on it? I have no idea what this ribbon cable does. This one, which I thought was the touchpad's actually down here. And then we have, you know, the buttons, the Vita-like buttons, which are all on one piece, which is interesting. I guess that's how the Vita is. So now I have to actually go down further, which is unfortunate. How much further do I have to go down here? Is there an easier way for me to, or maybe I could just undo these parts to, yeah, okay, so I have to undo the shoulder buttons to get to the hinges better. Alright, so let me go ahead and do that, and I'll get to that part. Actually, I forgot to show you the business end of this. So here is the GPD WinMax PCB itself. It's pretty wild. I don't know what this is protecting. Let's see if I can see underneath it. I guess these are the VRMs. Was it a heat shield for the VRMs? And then underneath we have the mounting plate for the heatsink itself, and then the buttons, the Vita-like buttons. And then here's the start select. An interesting place to put them. And then this is the power. What is it? Oh, there's that Realtek. This is Realtek right there. So that's right for, that's got to be for this RJ45 port right here. Interesting. I don't know what this is. TV 2.0 Max. You can kind of see it right there. Okay, so that's that. Let me go ahead and take away these shoulder buttons so that I can get to it a little bit further. Place down the most important bit. Oh man, that is so nice. So literally this whole entire assembly is held down with one screw right there. And then here's the contacts for it. So it just kind of goes in there real nice like. Super easy. So you just kind of put it in there. Oh, there we go. And then you just screw it in and then you're done. This is a really nice design. You know what I like about this is like, you know, a lot of these types of, they kind of just explode when you're taking out triggers. Even in real game controllers, it's just like putting it back as like origami and kind of having to go back in a specific manner. Okay, let me go ahead and take, well, I mean, I might as well just show you how it's done. So here's just that single screw here. I'm going to go ahead and undo this. Okay, that's done. And now with that one done, the entire assembly comes out. That's it. So I'll leave that all together. Nicey nice. And now we have access to the hinges. Huzzah! I had to fully take it all apart to get the hinges. I'm so glad that you guys don't have to do this. So let me start doing that part. Alright, so I 100% did this in the wrong order of operations. Do not take out these first, because you won't be able to actually lift this, so definitely undo this part here first, which I will do now, and then we can take out the last bit. Alrighty, that's all done. That was an ordeal. Glad that's over now. So now I just need to, man, I gotta pass this through. Alright, so let's undo this last screw here. This is the last bit holding it all together. There we go. Okay, so 4 screws on the bottom, a bunch of screws up top. We'll go ahead and pass that through. So now we got the 2 old hinges. And now I just need to, actually, you know what? I could just keep it like this and just pass through the new hinges. You know, I should probably just did them one at a time. But, oh, you know what? They have this little slit right here. They have this slit right here to pass this through. 100%. But yeah, you can see that this should definitely not pose any problems like the old Win 2 did, where it was kind of going up and down all the time, so that's kind of nice to see. Alright, well, since this is already here, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close this up without breaking it as much as I can. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Alright, so that's fully closed, and it's like that. Super and awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the different hinges. Alrighty. So, these are the old hinge. Old hinge, and these kind of look very similar to the old hinges that GPD is normally using, and then these are the new ones. Let me just try to get one that is part for part. Old, new. Now again, you guys won't have to do this. This is the part, you should have the new one in your Indiegogo retail unit going forward. The only reason I have this is because this is the new hinge that they were already planning on using. This is the one that just went up in my prototype, and then I had to undo a bazillion screws to get to this point. So I'm going to put this back in, and then I'm going to put it all back together, repaste it, press power, and cross my fingers. That's where I am right now. Just going to record a little of me putting it in there. And again, here are the old hinges. We're going to be putting in the new ones. Thankfully, these are already opened up all the way, so getting them in. There's a little guide hole right here. If you can see it right there. It's the third hole right here. This is one that's not circular shape. It's that oblong shape. So you're just going to kind of shove it on in. And not that one. And then it kind of just lines up. And then there's 3 screws that hold it down. Thankfully, all those screws are the same size, so there's nothing really to think about here. For the most part, everything is the same size. And I got screws all over this table for the PCB, but it kind of just lines up just fine, so I'm not terribly worried. And I'll put that back in and then reapply the paste, and then start getting it all back in. What's nice is that the face buttons and the D-pad are still attached, as you'll notice. So I kind of like how this is, because sometimes working with gamepad and stuff, again, you have to like put it all together and it's all like gravity fed, but having it kind of mounted is super, super nice. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and then mount the other parts. Alright, so I have all 8 screws in, actually 10 screws, so there's 6 in the front and then 4 in the back. So there's 5 per leg, so we have 3 in the front, 3 in the front, 2, and then 2. Now I did not screw these down all the way. One thing that I do recommend is basically make sure that if for whatever reason you're messing around with a hinge and want to put it back, make sure that this and this part line up correctly as you want. So you want to make sure that the clearance on these parts are even, because you can see that there's some play here. And you want this to be exactly tight, but you want it to be even. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so hinge replacement complete. Go ahead and give it a test close first. Oh, that is tight. Wow, that is much tighter. But closes all the way through. Nice and awesome. Great and grand. Alright, so now I'm going to start putting everything back together and then kind of see how it flops or not. But it doesn't, because it's like super tight. How's my display cable looking? Display cable looks good. I got some movement on here. Does it? Got to make sure that I don't kill this display cable. It does open up 180 degrees now, but the shoulder buttons will get in the way. Just a little bit concerned about that display cable, making sure that I actually have it in the right spot that it needs to be. I think it is, because right now I have it feeding this way, but it looks like there's more space that way. I think I should put it that way, because you know what? I'm gonna redo this leg. I kind of want the display cable to go in there. Let me do that. I think I might have screwed myself. Look at that. Might have scraped away at them. Hopefully I didn't kill myself here. We'll see what happens. Always the order of operations. Make sure that you're opening it the right way. It's still as tight as before, but I was worried that the tightness was actually caused by abrading at it. I am worried that this is no longer going to function. You guys can see right there. Right there. I abraded away. Just opening and closing it 2 times, I might have abraded it away. So when you do this, make sure that the display cable goes on top and not underneath. Don't be a dunce like me. Now to put it all back together and hope that the display is still working. The hinges do feel much nicer. The hinges do feel much nicer. Alright, well that's there. Let's put it all back together and hope for the best. You can see that a little bit better. That looks pretty chewed up. Not terrible, but I don't have high hopes. Before I put this away, I just want to show you the mechanism for the shoulder button. So we have this. There it is right there. And then this, it pushes down. So it's almost like it's almost ready to be doing analog trigger here. Like we have the method of how this should be for analog trigger, but not there just yet. And then just the one screw that's right here to put it all together. That goes down. Alright, so when you slot it back in, just make sure you go in at an angle, so it goes in like this, but you still have to get past this part right here. Additionally, you're going to want to make sure that you line up your little once this gets screwed down right here. This is for the little switch over here. Obviously when it all gets screwed down it's going to be fine. All the holes should match up. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and screw it all back together. Alrighty, so everything is put back together now. All the cables put back in. We're ready to clean this up. Well, I already put some alcohol on this. I'm going to just dry it up. And then I'm going to put some more paste on it and then put it all together. I'm going to put the SSD back in first. I am just going to try to plug it in and power without battery first and see if it comes on. Fingers crossed that I didn't destroy this display cable. Well, let's see what happens when I put on the thermal paste and go forward from there. Alrighty, relatively dust-free and all cleaned with alcohol. Everything is as clean as it possibly can be. I'm going to go ahead and put a pea-size amount on each spot. I have Noctula here. Okay. I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying that that's way too much, but remember, this is direct to die. There is no heat spreader here, and I don't know the distance between the heatsink. So we'll go ahead and put this on here like that, and then connect it all together. I put in the SSD first, and then I'll put it all down. Alrighty, so it's all back together now. Now what I'm going to do is plug it in and cross my fingers that it didn't destroy this display. Alright, so let's see where we are. Alrighty, so this kind of flashes green and red, I guess because it detects that there's no battery. We are plugged in. Everything else is in. There's nothing else I need to do here except to power it on. So cross my fingers. I think the indicator light that it went on is on. Now this shouldn't be a big deal because the battery resets, and then it takes a bit for the motherboard to power back on. So I'll kind of let that cycle for a bit. We can see that one fan is indeed on. Let's see what happens. Let's give it some time. Give it some time to think about its life. And as I thought, I did damage the display cable. It is on. We can see both of these are on. I felt it spin up. I can see that you can see that the LCD is actually on. Oh boy. Just scraped away at just enough wires for it to... Now I gotta replace this. I'm gonna have to redo it all again. Alright, well, this is how you disassemble WinMax, but for the love of goodness, make sure the display cable part goes on the top and not underneath. Because I really just eroded away at that. I'll plug in the battery and see what happens, but I'm reasonably sure that this display is shot, just because of the display cable. Well, here we are. I'm going to put this live, because why not? As always, guys, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.